every year we usually have the opportunity to speak throughout Black History Month just to share some facts. And as you heard, it is nationally recognized as a month-long holiday, as recognized in the late 70s by President Ford. We really love to celebrate our collective culture that may have come out of the deepest tragedies while also being able to elevate who we are as individuals. And that is the highlight of Black History Month.
Unlike the consensus non-science of Darwin's theory, which considers a race to be a primary characteristic, with darker skin being indicative of a lower level of evolution, it's non-science, 100%. But it's taught in our schools and celebrated by many in this room. Also, not all Black Americans are of African descent, and I have friends who feel that their heritage is erased and subsumed by a myopic narrative.
Mr. Schiebel, please read our resolution.
Whereas every February, the United States acknowledges and honors the Black Americans through their contributions and sacrifices have played an indelible role in shaping this country. And whereas, even though race and thus the designations of Negro, Black, and colored have been recognized as a construct originally built to separate and disenfranchise people based on skin color that was associated with people originating from the African continent, there is a shared culture derived from that history that should be seen and elevated. And whereas Black History Month celebrates the rich cultural heritage, impact, and triumphs of, and acknowledges the adversities faced as a part of the African diaspora in the United States.
And so I'd just like to add, a few of my colleagues would speak. This is a resolution, and we, if folks want to be able to share, we invite them up to speak. But I just wanted to share on a few things that you may have heard in the resolution. First, we recognize as African Americans our unique history in this country. As being separated from the continent, we had to build our own cultures. And while we, had individual languages, individual ideals and hopes, given the name and nomenclature of being Negro or Black, forced upon us a collective identity, even though we're people from many tribes and many different countries. And from that, we were able to build a unique culture that we hope to be able to share with you across this month. You will hear about our service with veterans next week. You'll hear about our food through Soul Food. And high five to anybody who loves gumbo. Thank you ahead of time. And then you're going to hear about our contribution to the arts.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm afraid you're not going to probably like the way this is going, but I think it's important. I would love to sign on to this resolution with an opportunity to address my concerns instead of seeing this resolution late last night. Perhaps I could. One, it violates the primacy of verbiage, which we are told we must adhere. We don't say disabled Americans because Americans with disabilities. We say Americans with disabilities to focus on their humanity first. Here, the focus is on a reference to phenotype, which is a minor physical characteristic. This resolution puts slavery rightly in a pejorative context. But on 3 separate occasions last session, the same caucus voted to use money extracted by force from Colorado taxpayers to support child slavery and environmental degradation of third world countries to support green energy. It's difficult to stand against slavery with someone standing for it. Even the majority party's insistence on being a sanctuary for trafficking immigrants unprotected by documentation, turning them into a perpetually vulnerable slave class, exploitable.
Representative DeGraff.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to pause us for a moment and ask you to return to the content of the resolution, which speaks about Black History Month.
Yes, ma'am. There's a lot of history.
The votes that have been taken by members of this body are not reflected in this resolution, and your conclusions are not welcome at this time as you speak. I ask you to please focus on the content of the resolution.
The content of the resolution is history. So let me skip ahead. Thank you. I do agree that the history of all Americans, regardless of phenotype, be interwoven because partial history is not correct history, and you cannot learn valid lessons from false history. But our children are forced to endure projects like the 1619 Project because it values narrative over fact. We could, or should, talk about how the first owner of a chattel slave was a free man of African descent, or how the blood and treasure of Britain and the United States, trillions in today's dollars, went into fighting the slave trade that was promulgated by African American and Arabian empires who had based their economies
Representative
on capturing.
DeGraff, I'm going to put us in a brief recess. Thank you.